The package was delivered at 4:11 p.m. By 4:13, it was gone. Nobody ran. Nobody hid. No panic. No hesitation. And when the Homeowners Association president later smiled and said she was protecting the neighborhood, no one questioned her. 3 days later, she walked into the monthly board meeting wearing pristine white gloves, trying to hide the unmistakable blue security dye permanently stained into her skin. That was the moment everyone understood something chilling. The thief wasn't breaking the rules. The thief was the one who wrote them. When I first moved into Willow Creek Estates, I believed I'd finally found peace. Quiet streets, perfect lawns, neighbors who waved politely but never asked questions. It felt safe in the way only controlled environments ever do. Nothing was out of place. Not a single car parked crooked. Not a trash bin left out past sunset. Not one blade of grass taller than the next. It wasn't just clean. It was managed. Every house followed the same silent rhythm. Lawns trimmed on schedule. Porch lights switched on at dusk. Seasonal decorations appeared and disappeared with mechanical precision. Pumpkins in October. Gone by November. Nothing overstayed its welcome. At first, I found comfort in that. After years of living in places where nobody cared about anything beyond their own door, Willow Creek felt orderly, predictable, safe. I told myself that was the point of an HOA, to keep chaos out. What I didn't understand yet was that order has a way of hiding things. I'd been there just over 2 months when I met Elaine Mercer, the HOA president. She'd held the position for years, according to the neighbors. You could tell by how people reacted to her, stepping aside on sidewalks, lowering their voices when she passed, smiling too quickly. Elaine always looked composed, hair pulled tight, clothes perfectly pressed, shoes spotless. She carried herself like someone used to being obeyed, not because she demanded it loudly, but because she expected it quietly. When she introduced herself, she spoke in phrases like community standards and shared responsibility. She described Willow Creek the way someone talks about a delicate garden. Beautiful, but only if constantly controlled. I didn't see anything wrong with that. Not then. Looking back, that should have been my first warning. Because people who believe they're protecting something precious often convince themselves that anything they do is justified. Life settled into routine. I worked during the day, came home in the evening, took long walks through the neighborhood. I attended one HOA meeting out of obligation. Landscaping budgets, mailbox regulations. Nothing dramatic, nothing suspicious. That's why when my first package disappeared, I wasn't angry. I was confused. The notification came at 4:11 p.m. Delivered. Left at front door. I was still at work. I didn't rush home. There was no reason to. Willow Creek wasn't the kind of place where packages vanished. When I pulled into my driveway around 6:30, everything looked normal. Porch lights glowing. Someone watering their lawn. Calm. Predictable. My welcome mat was empty. No box. No note. No sign anything had ever been there. I stood there longer than I should have, keys still in my hand, trying to explain it away. Wrong house. Helpful neighbor. Simple mistake. Reasonable thoughts. Inside, I remembered the HOA email from the week before. A polite notice about increased vigilance. HOA volunteers might temporarily secure unattended deliveries. At the time, I barely skimmed it. Now it echoed in my head. I waited. A day passed. Then another. No message. No email. No knock on the door. That's when I opened my doorbell camera footage. At 4:11, the delivery driver set the box down and left. 2 minutes later, someone entered the frame. They didn't rush. Didn't look around. They moved like they belonged there. They picked up the package and walked away. I paused the video. They were wearing an HOA hoodie. That's when something inside me shifted. Because if this was theft, it wasn't sloppy. It wasn't desperate. It looked official. I emailed the HOA. Polite. Careful. Elaine responded within the hour. Warm. Professional. Reassuring. Protecting the community. She said. Days passed. No follow-up. Then another package disappeared. Same timing. Same hoodie. Same confidence. That's when I stopped thinking like a resident and started thinking like an investigator. I noticed the patterns, the routes, the blind spots. The quiet maintenance worker named Thomas Reed, always wearing HOA gear, always following instructions, never asking questions. When I finally spoke to him, he didn't sound like a criminal. He sounded trapped. She says it's temporary, he told me. She calls them violations. That's when I understood. This wasn't theft. It was policy weaponized. Elaine never touched the packages herself. She didn't need to. She built a system where obedience did the dirty work for her. Then the fine started. Lawn height, 4.1 inches. Trash bin visibility. Unapproved decoration. Small amounts. Precise. Targeted. Pressure. Neighbors stopped talking to me. Isolation crept in quietly. That's when I started listening. And I realized I wasn't alone. 9 neighbors. Then 11. Same story. Same silence. I mapped it all. Every house. Every route. Every blind spot leading back to one place. The HOA storage building. So I created a test. Not a prank. Not revenge. Proof. A package with a bank-grade security dye pack. Non-toxic. Non-injurious. Triggered only when opened. Thomas collected it. Elaine opened it. Blue dye bloomed across her hands. 3 days later, she walked into the board meeting wearing white gloves. I didn't accuse her. I showed documentation. Video, maps, logs. And then I asked one question. Why are you wearing gloves? When she removed them, the truth was undeniable. Thomas stood up. He told everything. Elaine was suspended, then removed, then charged. The system collapsed not because of trap, but because it couldn't survive daylight. Weeks later, packages arrived normally. Neighbors talked again. Trust returned slowly. Elaine moved away quietly. No farewell. No apology. Power only looks large when it's unchallenged. Once exposed, it shrinks to its true size. I didn't do anything extraordinary. I paid attention. I documented. And when the moment came, I spoke. Sometimes that's all it takes. Because power doesn't disappear on its own. It retreats when it's watched. And sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is stop looking away.